Let me just double check that everything is recording right, and then I'll get started. I think it's right. Okay, so thank you very much. Welcome to today's online session called Developing Autonomous Learning Strategies Using Online Tools. It's a long name. There's different names to call this, like a mountain lion or a cougar, self-regulation strategies. But this is about learning on your own and being able to assess your own learning, to set goals, things like that. Today is May 24th, 2023. And yes, Ege University presents the career presentation. And my name is Bob Nguyen. I am an English language teacher at Ege University Preparatory Department, School of Foreign Language. And I am from the United States, and I currently work with the English language program. So I'm just going to let you guys know that I'm recording this, and I'll be posting this to YouTube. If any of your friends miss this, you can send them those links. But I don't think anybody's going to pop up as a, you're not going to pop up as a camera maybe, but we'll see. This is our table of contents. We're going to be talking about what is autonomous learning and why do we need it. We're going to talk about setting goals. We're going to talk about self-assessment. Could be called self-evaluation. It could be monitoring, self-monitoring. There's all these different names to call this thing. And then finally, note-taking, which I think is one of the most important things about autonomous learning and learning on your own. And if you have any questions, let's talk about the expectations. Participate actively by doing, which means that you're here, you're listening. I always recommend taking notes. This is something that even I do to this day when I go to presentations. I just went to Belgrade to an English language teaching conference and just love taking notes. And I love sharing my notes with the presenters. Allow others to share their ideas. So if you want to jump in, either raise your hand or send a message. Be respectful of others. Use the chat box, hand raising, emojis, cameras, microphones. Use those appropriately. And the most important thing is have fun and learn something. And so I sometimes look over here. That's where you are. I have two monitors, so I'm not looking away from you guys. But let's get started. The first point, autonomous learning. What are autonomous learning strategies? But first, let's talk about why we need them, especially in this day and age. So why can't we focus? Anybody know? There's just more distractions than ever, right? We got sound bites. Can you guys hear those sound bites? No? Oh, hold on. That's weird. Yeah. I can just press these. These are supposed to be little dings that happened. Did that work? Notifications. All right. Sound bites, video clips, messages, notifications. The attention economy. Okay. This was phrased by Herbert A. Simon. Okay. Companies are fighting for your attention. It's no longer like an information economy. What's happening is that online companies, are just fighting for your attention through advertisement, through other things. Okay. And one of the things about the attention economy is that you are the product. You are being bought and sold. And if you've not watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, I would highly recommend watching that. I should have put a picture up there. But yeah, there's a lot of distractions. And if you have, I see a thumbs up, Ibrahim. Thank you. All right. And here's some statistics from 2023 of American cell phone users. 89% of Americans check their phones within the first 10 minutes of waking up. And on average, we check our phones 144 times. Okay, that's an average. So obviously there's somebody that's checking their phone all the time, in the toilet, all these different statistics, right? You sleep with your phone. That's probably one of the worst things. which I think we all do. And I don't know. I guess we get used to it. Things will get better. Whoops. There's a link. I put a bunch of links in here. But let's move forward. So yeah, anxiety and stress related issues as well. There's a lot of sleep related issues, especially since this pandemic that's still going. Mental health issues are on the rise. Okay, 57% of high school girls reported feelings of sadness or hopelessness. That's from the CDC. Men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide. More women are being diagnosed with ADHD, and that's mainly since the pandemic. It wasn't that there were lower numbers, they just weren't being diagnosed. Okay, so these are things that we all need to consider when we think about this attention, this focus, and procrastination. Okay, my favorite friend. Can be associated with some mental health issues. So like procrastination is when you leave something that you need to do today for tomorrow. Okay, there's all sorts of words for it. There's some great TED Talks that I'll share with you at the end of this that talk about procrastination, and that sometimes procrastination can be a good thing. Okay, but other times it can be related to all these issues with mental health. So yeah, talking about autonomous learning strategies, distractions can be a symptom or a cause sometimes. So sometimes we have something wrong and we want to be distracted. Sometimes what is wrong with us creates us to be distracted, right? Creates these distractions in our lives. So what can we do to regain our attention in this attention economy? And how can we reduce distractions? There's a lot of things. And how can we improve our learning and growth? Okay, this is what this presentation is about. We're going to be using autonomous learning strategies, or sometimes called self-regulation strategies. I only say that because sometimes when you're searching for things, you might want to search on Google for both of these terms. Okay, but they're very similar. The first one is goal setting. Okay, so how can we make a plan and stick to it? What is nomophobia? Explain. Goal setting. So what is the most important goal that you want to finish by the end of the year? This is where we start to participate. I'm going to open up this Padlet. No phone. Nice. I'm going to hide all the thousands of tabs I have open. Don't judge me based on my tabs. And I want you to write what is the most important goal that you want to accomplish by the end of the year. Okay, so go ahead, go into this Padlet. You can click on this plus button. Okay, you can write your name in the subject. Okay, you don't have to share your name, but it'd be great if you did. Okay, and my goal is to make a website for my teaching. And go ahead and press publish. You can put a picture if you want. You can upload a picture of yourself so I can see you. You can like and comment on anybody's goals just by clicking on these little things. So yeah, goal setting. This is one of the most important things about to lose 5 kilos. Yeah, great. And that's an achievable goal, right? This is a goal, and you can measure that goal, okay, once you lose 5 kilograms from a certain point. I have another goal. It's the opposite. It's to gain a couple kilos. I've been running too much. Let go of extra workload. Yes, Sinam. I agree. Come back, hang out with us. Learning Spanish. Yeah. Improving our English. I mean, we have a lot. Try to think about the most important one. Write those down and remember them, and let's think about how we can set goals for this. Okay, so improve my Turkish to B1. Super, Anita. I'm sure you can do it. Trusty coffee. And think about these goals. Think about how, if you can finish them within the year, I'm going to make this bigger. To have a cruise trip. Nice. Where do you want to go? Where would you take?
I'd like to go to Norwegian fjords.
Oh, okay. Can you go from here?
From
Where would you go from?
From Izmir to probably Istanbul, and then from Istanbul to Norway.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds great. I'm going to hopefully visit some friends in Japan this summer. Beat diabetes. Ibrahim says, I would like to read and summarize generally at least 10 books in the summer. Nice. Great goal. I want to be able to write an academic paper using proper formats in the area by 2023. Yes. That's what I'm doing in my classes, helping students graduate at the end of the year. Yes, of course. That is a great goal. All right. I think everyone's finished typing. Thank you for your participation, and hold on to those ideas. Let's come back to our PowerPoint. How can we make sure our goals can be achieved? And maybe some of you know this, but we call these SMART goals. Okay, and I already did that, Padlet. SMART stands for, the S stands for specific. Okay, so what do you want to accomplish, and be very specific about it. I like the one about 5 kilograms. Okay, so not just losing weight, but being specific, right? Lots of things to be specific about, but usually the what. Measurable, that's the M in SMART. How will you know when you have accomplished your goal? So I'm going to stick to that easy one, 5 kilograms. Once you lose 5 kilograms, then you've accomplished your goal. A, is it achievable, attainable? Okay, how can the goal be accomplished? And this is when you start to break down this task, right? So how do you lose 5 kilograms? Just by chance? Just like, you flip a coin and maybe you lose it? No, there's certain things that you have to do. So you have to kind of break down the different tasks. Maybe it is exercising more. Maybe it is intermittent fasting. Maybe it's cutting back on sweets, something like that, right? So this is when you kind of choose the different tasks that you need to do to get to that point. R is for relevant, or what's the other one? Realistic. But we'll talk about relevant. So will this goal meet your short and long-term needs? So losing 5 kilograms, maybe before the summer. Everybody wants to have a nice summer body, I guess. But yeah, does it match up with what you need? Or is it something maybe that's been put upon you? And maybe it's not so important. The last one is T, is timely. When will the goal be accomplished? So you have to set a time. Okay, so not just saying losing 5 kilograms whenever, saying it by a specific point. Okay, and we also have to be realistic about that. Can I lose 5 kilograms in 1 week? Maybe, but sounds a little dangerous. I'm just using that example. I'm gonna just send you this link. Okay, so I made this like template. I copied this template. It's a Google Sheets. You can go ahead, if you click on make a copy, okay, this will make a copy into your Google account, and you can do this on your own. There's different websites that you can use that will help you with this. Let me just get back to this. I'm going to put this in the chat box for anybody who wants to just kind of see how it goes. And I'll give you guys some more links later, some videos to watch that will help explain this to you better. But the most important thing is that you start to look at, how do you achieve your goal, rather than just saying, I'm going to learn to play guitar. You have to be really specific by it. Maybe I will learn to play this song by David Bowie, in this style. I don't know. How will I measure that when I'm able to play the song without without making more than like 10 mistakes or something like that. How will I attain this? Well, I'm going to practice the first part, the bridge, the first verse. Maybe I'll practice singing separately, and I'm going to learn how to put this together. Is this relevant to me? Well, yeah, I love music, and it's something that I've always said that I wanted to do. And then timely, when will I achieve this goal, right? So putting a time, putting a deadline sometimes helps motivate us. Okay, so I'm going to learn this by the end of the summer. When I have more time in the summer, I'll be able to do this. So by the end of the summer, and maybe you're going to make something really specific as well. Maybe I'll play this in front of my friends, so that there's like a real goal. And you also get this accountability. People might be able to keep you on your goal by saying, hey, I'm looking forward to that guitar performance, Bob. So yeah, you can go ahead and click on that link if you want, and just make a copy and go ahead later on. Make your goals, take your goals, and then make them into SMART goals. Okay. And so yeah, that's a SMART goal. And if we had time, we would just do an entire lesson based on this. I'm going to talk about backwards planning because I find that this is the only way that I actually make my goals. And so first you have to define that goal by making a SMART goal. So let's say playing a David Bowie song to my friends, okay, by this certain time. And then we're going to break it down. So when do I need to start doing things? Okay. So look at the different steps that you need to do. Okay. By this certain point, I'm going to be able to play just like the intro. The second part, I'm going to be able to play the first verse. I'll be able to play the bridge by a certain point, right? And yeah, estimate the time that you need. Create a timeline. Okay. So if you have like a Google Calendar that you use, or you just have a piece of paper, write out a timeline. And then update and seek support. So ask people, get help, get that support to keep yourself motivated. This is backwards planning. It's also called backwards design for teachers. So starting off with the assessment or the test in mind, and then working your way backwards. What do you need to teach the students? And I'll send all these links later. But I think one of the things when I was really stressed about coming to Turkey, when I first came to Turkey, was, my sister said to me, let's do some backwards planning. So we start from the end. I'm in Turkey. What do I do the week before? Well, I have to get my plane tickets all ready. I have to have my bags packed by that point, go back a month. I have to make sure my visa and everything is okay. Start buying the things that I need. What do I actually need? And then work your way backwards in kind of this brainstorming. So you get to your present moment. Okay. And usually it helps you kind of have a more positive outlook, because what you're really doing is imagining a positive future, right? When you accomplish that goal. And so a lot of that helps you to kind of stay motivated, and it helps you really think about the different sequences, and you always have to go back and update. Maybe there's something you forgot. There's something you missed out on, go back, have somebody look through it with you, walk it through with somebody, a loved one, somebody who wants to help you, somebody who is going to miss you when you leave. Okay. So backwards planning, SMART goals. Okay. These are some things we can do for goal setting. And you can always use pencil and paper. You don't have to use like a Google Forms. I have this kind of thing where I can like write. Don't look at my thing. I'm not gonna. It's like a whiteboard marker, and I can just write what I did, certain things that I want to accomplish, and I have this, goal of creating habits of like doing push-ups and pull-ups and reading 30 minutes, and studying Turkish and running. And certain days have different things. It's a little personal, so I don't want to show you too much, but. You can create this. I can't find my template. I would love to send you that so you can make it on your own, but trust me, I'll be able to get it to you. You can use calendar apps, right, to set these reminders. So once you create your timeline, just go into Google Calendar. I'm not going to say, hey, your phone's name. Because when you do that, everybody's phone starts going off. But hey, your phone's name, make me a reminder for this day. All right. And so one of the things about setting goals, I think the hardest thing is actually focusing. So focus timers, we're going to talk about that. But first, they say it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. Okay. And that's to master a skill. That's to like, perform in an orchestra or something like that. And that 10,000 hours, you can do it quicker. It could take you longer. It depends on motivation. It depends on quality of the time. Okay. But what if I told you it only takes 20 hours to learn a skill, okay? And not to master it, right? To play one song doesn't mean you mastered the guitar, but it means that you learned how to play a certain song in a certain style, right? And it can take 59 days on average to form a new habit, okay? And it depends on the habit you want to form, okay? But, think about all these numbers. Take some notes. I'm going to quiz you later. And then there's this idea of Parkinson's law. Does anybody know what this is? All right. So Parkinson's law says work, it kind of expands to fill the time given to it, right? So if you set 1 week to finish something, it will take you 1 week to finish that task. If you say it'll take me 1 day to finish something, and this is, you have to be realistic, right? You can't do all of the studying for one semester in 1 day. So if you give something 1 week, you'll finish it in 1 week, right? I'm going to finish my report on Friday. If you change it to a day, you're more likely to finish it in a day. So by tomorrow, I'm going to finish this. Or I'm going to give myself 8 hours, something like that. Or I'm going to give myself a deadline, like I'm going to stop working at 6 p.m., okay? And when we don't give ourselves this kind of rule, these deadlines, we end up just sitting there and we procrastinate a little bit. We watch a bit of Netflix. I love cooking, so I end up just cooking. And then eventually it'll get finished by the time that I set, okay? And it always depends on the task and how realistic you are about it, right? So how can we stay focused? Okay, one technique is the Pomodoro technique. It's named after this tomato, this timer, okay? Has anybody used anything like this before? As an app, just setting like a timer on your phone. Okay, so usually it's 25 minutes of work and then 5-minute break, okay? And in that 25 minutes, you don't touch your phone. In the 5 minutes, you can now check your messages. You should stand up, okay? Sometimes people use 60 minutes and 10. It's really up to you and the task itself, okay? Especially with studying. Sometimes people like to study for an hour at a time, but it's really important to stand up, I think there's a myth that sitting a long time causes issues, and that's true. But the real issue is not standing up and sitting down again. Okay, that's like standing up and sitting down. It actually changes your heart rate. Okay, when you stand up, your heart has to like beat more. And so, yeah, they say that like hunter-gatherers sat just as much as modern humans. We love to sit. This is why we have a posterior, whatever you want to call it. We like to sit. It's normal. That's what humans do. It's just that in the past and with different cultures, they stand up and get up, stand up, sit down. They check the fire. They sit down. They check on a baby. They sit back down. It's okay to sit, but you got to stand sometimes. Okay. So this timer could help you. And somebody mentioned this Forest app and Flora, okay? If you have an Android, it's free on Android. I don't know why, but it's paid on iPhones. And Flora is another one. And they have the Pomodoro techniques built in, okay? They help you stay focused by not using your phone. So if you use your phone, it'll actually stop the timer and you won't be able to grow a tree. The point of it is to grow a real tree. So whenever you finish 25 minutes or whatever you set, they will plant a seed for you, whether it's a rose, whether it's like an oak tree. I could show you guys, but I'm going to just send this link later. Actually, let's just open it. So here's Flora, okay? And it is pretty cool. I've used other apps, but this was recommended by some students. So Flora or Forest. And let me finish this real quick. You can also invite friends to study with you, and you have to like both stay focused together. And if you don't, and you can actually, I think, see each other or talk to each other through the app. But it's one of those things about kind of being accountable, having somebody keep you accountable. And there, let me go back to that. So yeah, you can work with friends. You can grow different plants all over the world. Flora only works for iOS, but the Android version's coming out. And Forest is paid on iPhone, but on Android it's free. So who knows? You can plant trees. Okay, you can make to-do list. All these things. But sometimes it's nice to, in this way, what we call gamify, right? To kind of make the studying habit a game, and adding up how many you do in one day. Maybe it's whether it's about reading, maybe it's about studying, maybe it's about, I don't know, meditation, you know? So you can set goals. And they've planted 1,638 trees. 105,638 trees. Okay? So there's a motivation for you, if you'd like. Does anybody have any other recommendations for any kind of focus timers or any other techniques that you've used? Sometimes I just set a kitchen timer and I just do something, whether it's, you know, exercising.
I use something called FocusMate.
Oh, cool.
FocusMate, it's a buddy double,
Focus.
and I think you can get like three sessions a week.
Okay. And what does it do?
FocusMate, you sign up for a time, and then you're paired with someone else, and you tell each other, I'm going in the next 25 minutes. I'm going to work on reading 2 chapters.
Okay. So it's a stranger.
Yes, and it could be someone who's working on their academic paper. You can join an academic group, or it can be someone doing exercise. I had one person who is practicing their cello.
Okay.
And someone else was cleaning their kitchen.
Okay. And what happens if they stop? Do you like yell at them?
No, because I'm focusing on my task.
Okay.
That's fine.
Good. Somebody told me about this thing called Study With Me on YouTube. And there's people that do live streams of studying. And some of them, so this one I think is live right now. You can like study with the person if that's something that helps you. So a student was telling me that they use this to kind of feel like they're in a classroom or like in a cafe when they have to work at home. So there's a lot of cool things that technology can do for us. I don't know. Let me see. Don't mind. I think it's live. And yeah, you can like jump into the chat, or I don't know. It's one thing to keep you focused, right? And they set their timers too, so you can follow along with their timer. So if you know, if you need to kind of feel encouraged, and if you can't get your friends to do this, this could be a good option. And also FocusMate. And FocusMate is free. Is that right, Anita?
For like 3 sessions a week or something.
3 sessions. So yeah, you can find something on YouTube and just follow along with somebody else. I guess they can't keep you accountable, but study with me. That's the key term in YouTube. All right. Self-assessment. How can we learn outside of the classroom more effectively? So we learn different goal setting and keeping focus on that goal. But how do we learn on our own? We can call this self-evaluation, self-monitoring. They're kind of interchangeable. And there's a lot of information out there, so I can't cover everything, but I'm going to try. So don't wait until the midterm or final to measure your understanding, okay? By that point, you might need to do extra. It's always good for you. It's also better if your teacher helped with formative assessments while you're learning, so you can check your growth. But you can do this on your own as well. Especially to test your strengths, check areas you need to improve, need improvement. You can use apps to test yourself and learn. right? I'm going to just share a few because there's like millions of them out there. And I would love for you to participate and share with me what you've used. Oops.
So Bob, going back to the focus timers, Ibrahim
Oh,
said
yeah.
that a focus, he makes a list of his distractions.
I make a list of my distractions and question them. What if I leave allocating time and effort for them? What if I leave allocating time and effort for them? About your distractions?
Yeah, that makes sense. Prioritize, right? It's a lower priority.
Oh, like which one to do first? I make a list of my distractions and question them. What if I leave allocating time and effort for them? For which one?
I think what you meant is he would, correct me, Ibrahim, Ibrahim would work on his high priority ones for like 25 minutes, but then he has a plan that in his next 25 minutes, he would work on the
distractions.
Also, may I explain?
Yeah.
Also, prior phase, you see the priorities. Also, sometimes you start to leave some of them completely.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes you can see new goals. I don't know. Meanwhile.
Yeah.
Because studying on lists helps imagining for myself. I don't know other people, but visual study learners, I guess it is like that. It's beneficial for me.
Yeah, I like that. I think the thing about distractions, one thing is in the 5 minutes during your break, you can go to your distractions. So you can have that fix. Yeah, I think prioritizing tasks is really important, but I think a lot of people end up choosing the easiest things to do, like getting rid of all the easy things first. And so, yeah, I think it is important to prioritize. Sometimes, I mean, the biggest thing about procrastination, not wanting to do something, is because starting it is the hardest thing, right? And the moment that we do start something, it doesn't feel as bad, okay? As a teacher, I don't like grading. It takes me a long time to start, like, grading the first essay, okay? But once I do that, the ball starts to roll. And I think it's hard to prioritize because sometimes we have to think about, what needs to be done, and then what is more important and fulfilling to you. So I don't know. I think one of the cool things about using a focus timer is being able to do 25 or 2 sessions of one thing and then switching to another thing. So you can say, for this day, I'm going to do 3 Pomodoros for this priority on my to-do list, right? And then you can switch to another task. So I think one of the cool things about some of these apps is it tells you how many Pomodoros or how many sessions you had with each of the things on your list. Let me show you mine. I use this thing called Be Focused. It works on your iPhone, but I can choose different task and I can set it so that it's like 0, 8 for today. I want to work on a project, reading books. I can change the amount. And then every time I change the task, I'm going to, use this Pomodoro technique trainer. And that's one way. Whatever works for you, really. I mean, as long as you have a system. And I think that trying something new, and if it doesn't work for you, then finding something else, And maybe having motivation by sitting with somebody, for a lot of us, is probably the best thing. I mean, I've used to just have my Zoom on with a friend. Even though I was working, the Zoom was on and we would just be working. That's it. And we wouldn't say anything. The microphones were muted, and you would just kind of make eye contact and do something funny, but it just had this more social quality. So whatever keeps you motivated, whether it's a timer, I think whether it's another human being, or this gamification, like planting trees, if that helps you, if you see like a growth, whether it's artificial or not, it might help you. All right. Something that I use in the classroom often is Quizlet, and I use it in my English classes for vocabulary mainly, but you can use this for anything. Key terms, in your medicine classes, key terms in geography or things like that. You can use Quizlet to review your words and terms, so you can look through. It's like a flashcard, okay? And you can use Quizlet to test yourself. So let's practice. I made a Quizlet. Oh, and sorry, there's other tools that include like Anki and Memrise. If you are into, practicing writing down, and they say the most important thing is to make your own study sets. Okay, so there's some words that I've added, just 17 of them. Okay, and we can go over the definitions, but I'm going to send this to you, and I'm going to let you just study real quick. Go over these terms that we just talked about today. What does the S in smart mean? Okay, the M in smart, the A, the R, the T. What is attention economy, and what does that mean? How often do we check our phones per day? I'm talking about Americans from that study specifically. What's the percentage of girls reporting the feeling of sadness? Men are likely to die by suicide versus women. What's the amount, I guess? How long does it take to master a skill? How long does it take to learn a skill? How long does it take to form a new habit? And so on, yada, yada. All right. Look through the list. And I guess you could throw it in the chat, but I'm going to press this test button. And so it's free. You don't get to test yourself. I think you only get to test yourself once a month, but you can review these. The matching game works pretty well for the most part. No written. Let's do matching, multiple choice, and true and false. So yeah, I get to do this. Parkinson's law 3.6 times. False, right? How long does it take to learn a skill? Is it 10,000 hours? I don't think so. Parkinson's law, work expands to fill the time given to it. I think that one is. Anybody? True. Focus timers. Here are some examples of them. I guess that's true. How long does it take to form a new habit? 57%. That's not even a correct answer type. How long does it take to learn a skill? 144 times. Also false. 59 days. How long does it take to learn a skill? We're not going to do all this. But you can see the point, right? You can study a class. You can write up some of these notes. Maybe I should have just chosen like 4 of them. And then the ones that you master, it will actually tell you, it'll take them off the list. How long does it take to learn a new skill? No, that's habit. 20 hours. How long does it take to learn a skill? Yes, learn. Go backwards to determine the steps needed to get that goal. Now we're doing the matching. Choose the matching. This backwards planning. Use a timer to work in interval, traditionally 25 minutes in length. Pomodoro technique. Your focus is the real product being sold. But attention trigger? Wow, they made up words for me. Independent means autonomous. Okay, I'm almost done. Click a term to match with the definition. Select the terms below. Oh. Oh. How do you do this? Select from the list. Oh, there it is. TS. No, that's R. Relevant. Measurable. I wish you guys were doing this. All right, there you go. Did I get it? Did you get it? And so, yeah, that's an example. And I guess I probably could send it to you to do these. And yeah, you can use this as a teacher to give to your students as a practice. You can have your students making these together as a class, or you can have your students making these individually. Okay, and you can use, if you're learning a language, you can set the language to Turkish or German or English, whatever language. But I think it's always good to move towards like synonyms, using easier words to explain difficult words. Any questions about that? That's Quizlet. I'm going to send you guys links on how to sign up for Quizlet, how to use note-taking to make your Quizlets, finding words from videos and lectures and things like that. Any questions over there? No? And so, yeah, I'm just going to give you guys the basics on this, language learning, Duolingo. I prefer Busu, which kind of feels more realistic. Grammarly for writing corrections. There's a lot of these. I'm just giving the common ones. Blue Canoe. I don't think anybody knows about this one. But it's a pronunciation app that you can download. And I had a student use this. Was able to kind of get the vowel sounds a little bit better. Okay, there's an app, and it's for Google Store and Google Play and app stores and all the stores. YouGlish. Has anybody ever used this? So if you're trying to learn a word and you're trying to pronounce the word and you keep saying the word wrong, or you don't even know how to say it, this is wonderful. I use this in my class all the time, and you can use it in English, or you can use it in any of these other languages, including sign language. I didn't know that. So let's say the word autonomous. You look at it and it looks strange, and you can also choose which accent. And I'm just gonna, because I'm from the US, I'm gonna choose the US accent. And can you guys hear this?
So we think of ourselves as dynamic, autonomous creatures.
Okay, and you get examples.
We're distributed autonomous institutions.
And it pulls it from YouTube. It's just looking at subtitles all over YouTube. And you can do this.
Autonomous, sovereign.
Their faith, then it's only this word. Autonomous Turkestan.
Sorry, yeah. Okay. So it's one of those things. If you're learning new words and you want to check pronunciation, you want to check it. Maybe you love the
AI is the brains that will guide the autonomous cars. Vote.
The British
Anonymous
accents.
online. They don't mind failing. Let me tell you.
Autonomous online. Yeah. So that's YouGlish, YouTube, the U and glish, the ing and the glish and English. Check that out. That's another cool thing. And a lot of students, we did that. A lot of students just, if you're learning new words and you're not able to say these words, or you want to check these words, if you're doing a presentation and you just want to make sure that you're saying these words correctly, I think this is a great way to just hear authentic examples and multiple examples, kind of using the power of YouTube and searching subtitles. One other thing, a lot of people tell me they use YouTube for learning, right? So you're watching YouTube channels that talk about geography, that talk about different subjects like math. This is something that I've discovered that I really appreciate, and it's only something you can use on your computer, and it works with Chrome or any kind of Chrome browser. It's called Language Reactor. And you can learn on YouTube and Netflix better with instant definitions. And you can have both. If you're like studying and you want Turkish and the English at the same time, you can get that. You can click on dialogue. So instead of like, what did he say, and moving that thing back and forth, you can just click on the dialogues. So yeah, let's watch an example. This is from one of my classes I did. And when you watch it, has all of this extra stuff. So this is the Language Reactor button. Hello. Okay, and it creates this list of subtitles for you. Okay, and that's me. Hello everyone, this is Bob. Let's skip around. Write down notes. And this is me talking about keyword notes, which I'll talk about in a second. Let's say I don't know what this word means, or I want to hear this again. Verbs, adjectives, adverbs. Okay. So when we're listening to things, why do we use this? Verbs. And you can click it again, so you're not hunting around, wasting your time. If you're watching something on Netflix and you just couldn't hear what this person was saying, this tool, if you use it on your computer, it can help you. And it gives you kind of these translations. The bottom one is machine translation, so it's not always going to be accurate. But you can also look up definitions, right? So you can click on a word, it'll say the word for you. And I think it's a way to just slow down. If you're watching YouTube and if you're learning, if you're watching something for fun, but you want to learn what they're actually saying, this could be a great tool for that. And unfortunately, it doesn't work on, your smartphones, but it does work on your browser. So maybe you can get on somebody's computer and do this. And yeah, you can watch everything. When we're listening to things, you can also do this auto pause thing where every time it finishes a line, it'll stop. And you just press spacebar. So we can quickly write down notes. Okay. Write down important. I'm gonna turn that off. Words. Important notes. And you can like save words. So like if you don't know what adjective means,
adjectives,
you can go ahead and mark as learning. And I think you have to sign up for an account for that, but yeah, helps you slow down a little bit, helps you kind of learn new words. You can really focus on something, especially if it's like text, some language from a movie that goes really quickly. So yeah, that's called Language Reactor. Check that out. It's a way to supplement your learning using YouTube. And so yeah, Jana, I need to leave. Okay. Bye, Sena. So what apps do you use to self-learn outside of school? Okay, I made this Mentimeter. I'm going to send you the link. What are some of these apps that you use to learn on your own outside of class? You can write down as many as you like. You could submit and then resubmit. And then we're going to check the results. So all of you out there, go ahead, click on that. What are some things that you use for learning? Any apps, any websites, any kind of online things that you use in order to learn your subject or to test yourself, to review, anything like that? Go ahead, write it in that chat, and I'm going to click on this, and let's look at some live results of this word cloud. Whoops. There we go. Cambridge. Cambridge what? Like the website. I'm going to hide this. For your, for any subject, whether it's math, English, Google survey to get students' opinions in my training school. So that's Google Forms. I'll write that for you. Go ahead and write it in that Mentimeter if you can. It'll just pop up so we can have a big old list. Okay, so just click on that link. Go ahead and write that there instead of the chat for me if you are not on your phone. Otherwise, I can just write some of these that you have. Merriam-Webster. If you guys have a Mac dictionary, online, Netflix, yeah, YouTube, podcasts. What else? Text analyzers to find most repeated words. Text analyzers. I'll do the work for you guys. Here we go. Here's some. Rosetta Stone. So if you're at Ega University, they give you a free account. Discord can be quite useful. How do you use Discord? Like you have a group, like a channel for that, for learning? Or do you have a group with your classmates and you share everything? Oh, with bots? I'm going to have to learn about Discord. I want to use Discord for trainings and things like that. It seems complicated, but I'm sure it's not. Anybody else have any experience using Discord? Discord is like I guess it's like an old school bulletin board, but with tagging. You can have a big thread. You can reply to people. You can hashtag things. You can have different channels within a server so that, you can organize things by, homeworks or this kind of language learning. I must search for it. Okay, send me a link. Sticky notes. Yes. Like real sticky notes? All right. I'm running out of time, as usual. guess I can almost be finished. Let's move on. So there's different apps that we can use, but I think in order to learn and to keep that information, right, we need a note-taking ability. I could probably do an entire, 10-week course on note-taking. So this is just a little bit improving our ability to remember and find information, right? So note-taking shouldn't just be what is busy work, that your teachers make you do something so that you can turn it in, okay? It's an active engagement. It helps you focus, okay? And for me, it helps me not talk to my person, my friend next to me. It helps me pay attention to my lecture. And you're actively being a part of a presentation, a lecture. Okay, organize information better. This helps you do that. A memory enhancement. You can review and learn things later. Exam preparation, right? You get to prepare for the exam. And I would say last is collaboration and sharing. If you have a study group, I think, which is like probably the best way to learn, is to learn in a social way. And not to say you give your notes to somebody, but you work together. I always find it interesting when there's a student that walks in the class and I say, "Where's your notebook or your bag?" There's like, "I don't have one." I say, "Where's your pencil?" He says, "I don't need one." And then I say, "What do you do in the class?" He says, "I sit and I learn." And I say, "Okay." And I think you can learn that way. But are you going to be able to remember? And we need to be able to do in order to remember sometimes. And so let's just talk about some quick note-taking techniques. I have a link to all of these. I can't talk about these all in 4 minutes. We can use the outline method, which is organizing information by bullet points. You show importance with hierarchy. Okay, so you just kind of like have bullet points, 1, 2, 3, Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, whatever you'd like to do. But your major topics are to the left, right? You're welcome. Our subtopics are within, and then details, facts, right? So you kind of move in. If you've ever made an outline, great. The next one, Cornell notes. And I've taught this in my class. This is a good note-taking ability or technique, but it's also a good way to test yourself. Okay, so you write notes in the outline method that I just briefly talked about. Write cues on the left to quiz yourself, and then you write a summary to help you remember everything. So you take notes in the normal way. I prefer that outline. And then you write the keywords kind of next to them. So you can actually fold your paper, or you can cover the right side and you can quiz yourself. You ask like questions, or you put a keyword and you give the definition for the keyword. That writing the summary at the end is a kind of a way to actively remember something. Okay, it's a way to quiz yourself. If you can like state for 1 minute what the lecture was about, then you took something away. Okay, but if you leave a lecture and you can't remember anything about it, you can't tell your friend about it, you can't call your mom and tell her about the lecture, well, you need to do a little bit of extra work in the class. So this is an example from one of my classes. Students took notes on a TED Talk. You can see this later, but they ask questions on the left, and you don't have to ask questions for everything, but this was a good example, and at the bottom you write your summaries. Okay, so are the results the same with men's opinion about the meaning of life? She was watching a TED Talk about what makes a good life. Okay, Robert Waldinger's Lessons from the Longest Study on Happiness. Okay, and ask different questions. You can just use key words, key terms. This is called Cornell Notes. There's a link to all of this afterwards. I'll send it to you. The last one, which I love, is just keyword notes. Okay, just only write the keywords during the note taking. Those include verbs, adjectives, adverbs, nouns. Did I say nouns? Places, people, things. Okay, and then later organize your work. So here's an example that I did of a Vox video: "Why beef is the worst food for the climate." And I'm not writing full sentences. I'm just writing keywords. And one of the things about keyword notes is that you can quickly take as much information down. But the second part is when you look at your notes, you have to do the work. You have to do the work of memorizing what this was about. And I actually have a video I'll share with you later. Actually, I can't show it for long because YouTube will strike me.
The chart I'm building shows the greenhouse gas emissions from producing 1 kilogram of some common foods. In other words, it shows how much they contribute to global climate.
I'm just going to quickly go through this.
Coffee
It's
has
not
such a
real
big
time.
footprint
I actually
because
pause
of the
it.
fertilizers farmers use to grow it, which emit.
But and you can use symbols and drawings
Jokes aside,
as well.
though, methane is a huge contributor to climate change. It's the second most emitted greenhouse gas after related emissions for beef and sheep are so high we could make. A lot of food emissions are unavoidable.
Okay, so it's listening something. It's taking down notes quickly because you only have one chance in a lecture, right? You can't pause the teacher and say, rewind. You could ask a question, obviously, but it's a more efficient way of taking notes, and it requires that your brain does the extra work in order to kind of put these pieces together so you can remember things better. And yeah, I have all this information at the end. So another one is visual note taking, or a combination of all these. This is something that I took notes on last week when I was in Belgrade for a conference. And let me show you the real note. So I did this on my iPad. If you don't have an iPad, you can just use paper or, but yeah, it was just, I like drawing. I think that drawing is a better way to kind of code things into your brain. If you listen to something and you can doodle, I don't know any doodlers out there, people that draw, but if you draw, it actually makes a stronger connection in your brain, and you will remember things better. So she talked about teaching, she talked about sailing as a metaphor for teaching, you know, saying goodbye to your comfort zone. So just kind of having fun with the notes. But I do remember this presentation really well because I had to do a lot of work during it to remember. You're welcome. And yeah, I guess I'm out of time, but okay. So how do we store our notes? How do we find it again? I love this idea of this second brain. You know, you have your one brain, but it's not enough, right? One is not enough, never. Maybe you might need 3 brains. Something I love to use, but it's a little difficult, is Notion, okay? And these are all apps that if you've never used a note-taking app or a note-storing app, storage, a second brain, as they call it nowadays, you should try them out, okay? Because there's no one-size-fits-all. I used to use Evernote. I think the thing I loved about Evernote was the fact that they lets you clip things. So you can save a web page into as a note. OneNote from Microsoft, if you have your Office account, you can use that. My personal favorite is Miro. And this is when I'm going to share with you all the information that you guys can have or talk about. So I use Miro to kind of store information, and it's a visual, it's more of a graphic organizer. I'm going to share this with you guys. These are all the links that I use to like create this PowerPoint. There's videos, you know, there's things about goal setting. You can look at SMART goals, different websites. If you have any comments, if you have something you want to add, you can actually just add a comment anywhere, and I'll check those so I can make this better. There's things about backwards planning. You can watch the YouTube video within Miro itself. And we're not going to watch it, but you know.
Welcome to.
You can watch that. You can see all the links to the timer apps, learning and habits if you want to read more about that. The self-assessment thing, I can add a lot more, but I just didn't have time. And then, yeah, we just talked about note-taking. So you can watch that video about keyword notes. You can also see these example notes, and you can read about how to do it. from Cornell University itself. Okay. And that's yours. I'm going to add more. I need to finish all of that. And yeah, there's some extra information I need to organize as well. But this is one of the ways that I started to brainstorm and to collect information. It's very visual. Links aren't just tabs. They have the introductions to them. I think the one big issue I have with Miro, you can't use it offline. So if you don't have internet, you can't take notes. And that's unfortunate. I wish there was a way that they would sync it. Okay. And you can go and see all these things. I have some videos that you can watch to learn how to use Miro better. Actually, how to sign up for a free education account for teachers or students as well. And I'm just barely over time. Yes. Not bad. Use autonomous learning strategies to avoid distractions. Let's wrap this up. Okay. Set smart goals. And that's, I would say, the most important thing about learning anything, okay, is you need a plan before you get started. Otherwise, you get distracted and you fall off the path, okay? Self-assessment with online tools, okay? So use different tools to test yourself, to review, to look for new information. And then what do? You got to take those and put them into notes somewhere, store them, find them again. I think that's the biggest issue. A lot of people, when you write on paper, unless you have a good organized system, you lose it and you can't search for it. I think one of the coolest things about things like Evernote is you can search on even pictures. It'll find the keywords within pictures. Yes, Neshe knows that Miro is great. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this brief and filled to the brim with information. I want you to fill out this Mentimeter for me. But what is one thing you will use after this presentation, and what is something you want to learn more about? That is not the right link. Let me send this. So go ahead. You can click on this link if you're in your phone. But yeah, just write 1 and a 2. What is one thing you will use after this presentation? Do that with the 1. And then 2, what is something you want to learn more about? So I can maybe develop another presentation, another training after this. And that's just for me. So go ahead and do that if you enjoyed. If you have any questions as well, you can write those in the box. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with, and I didn't quite fill this up, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you've learned about this. But all of these things you need before you really start to learn. Okay, not just learn, but like really, become the person that you want to be. So food, sleep, water are very at the bottom, right? Security, health, and finances, things about housing as well. Okay, this friendships, intimacy, family comes next, and then kind of the feelings that you have about yourself, your self-esteem about learning things. Are you, do you have a growth mindset? Are you able to overcome with resiliency? And then, it's hard, but once you can get to that point, you're going to be able to kind of really fly in your education, in your self-growth, in your learning. And you can really use all of these techniques in order to really kind of, I would say, maximize your potential. So keep these things in mind. If you have a difficult time focusing, start at the bottom. Are you getting these things adequately? Food, sleep, water? Do you feel safe? Are your friendships okay? Have you neglected those for studying? Because that usually doesn't help. And how do you feel about yourself? So work on those things. And at the top of this is where we want to be, the self-actualization. And that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Just wanted to throw just a last thing in there. And thank you very much. Excuse me. And if you have any questions, you can email me there. And you can also check out that Miro. I'll add my information in that Miro as well. But yeah, I'll open it up. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to get back. Whoops. I'm still sharing. So many buttons. There we go. Wait, am I still sharing? No. Okay. 1 hour and 5 minutes. First time doing that. You're welcome. Very enjoyable, instructive. Thank you, Senem. And yeah, I'll post this as a YouTube video. You can watch it again, or you can share it with your friends and colleagues. And I'll share the Miro board within that YouTube link so that you can just find this information easily, because there's a lot of information. And yeah, you're welcome. Ulash, thanks a lot. It was more than a presentation. It was like a chat. Good. Good. Take notes. Yes. I think this is the most important thing that I've relearned how to do, was take better notes. I have a lot of questions to focus on. You're welcome. YouTube video would be so useful. And you're welcome. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope that you learned a lot, and I hope you share this information. So if you have this Miro board, go ahead and share it with everybody, your friends, family, your mom, sister, loved ones. I think you should always share with your mom. I always put this as a comment. It's not like one of those jokes, but it definitely is like, you should share these things so that your mom knows what you're doing. Would definitely like to learn more about focus timers. Yeah. I like this idea of seeing progress, you know. I think that a lot of people need to kind of see how many hours they put into something. And some of these apps, like the one that I use on my phone, it gives you like an analytic, you know. You did 5 Pomodoros of studying today. You did, 1 Pomodoro of meditation or something like that. And it kind of tracks it, and it lets you kind of start to see. I mean, you can do something like this, which is what I do, and you can kind of track like how long you've been doing yoga and meditation. I was able to do like 7 days in a row. And it's kind of, that's what builds the habit, and it makes you kind of come back. It makes it easier to come back to something. I think just the same as grading essays as a teacher. Once you do that first 5 and you struggle through them, then they all feel easier afterwards, right? Just going downhill from there, or uphill, depending on. I always try to do the most, I would call, difficult students first. Get the hard ones out of the way. But yeah, if you have any other questions, or if you want to just chat, let me know. I don't have anything to do. And thanks for coming from all over. I see students from Chukarova University, I think from Nevshehir as well. Is that right? I should have asked. Okay. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to get out of here. I'll just press the end all to be all button. And yeah, thanks again for coming, and thanks for listening. And I hope you learned something. Have a good day.